Hello, I'm Leah.
And I'm Mike.
And we're here looking at our literature section over the next few days. This is Unit 14, The Timeless Wisdom of Michael Ende's Momo. I have not read this story, but it looks like it's really fascinating after having taken a look at the next few days of article. It sounds like our character Momo really gets into some interesting things over the next little bit of time. And I love how they're using this expression, timeless wisdom, because a lot of the content of the story seems to be connected to time. And I think it seems like it's probably quite a fascinating story to read.
That's exactly right. So we're going to be reading about this story written by a gentleman named Michael Ende. Am I getting that right? He's German, and I know, Leah, your German is very good.
Oh, yeah, you're making fun of me now. But I mean, that's what I would say. That doesn't mean I'm right. I'm sure that I'm doing something wrong. But Michael, well, it would also be Michael Ende.
Ende or something.
Ende.
Okay. So he's a very well-known writer. Also wrote the sort of well-known, I think it was we would probably call it a cult movie. It's very popular among a small group of people. The Never-Ending Story.
Never-Ending Story.
Oh, not only German, but a talented singer as well. So this was a movie that probably came out, I think, in the 80s, right? Kind of in the mid-80s. But it's one of those kind of modern children's fairy tales that kind of became a bit of a classic. I remember there's a boy riding a giant sort of puppet dragon or something.
Is this the one that David Bowie was in? No, he was in Labyrinth.
That was Labyrinth. This was the one with the hit song sung by Limahl for all you fans of 80s pop music. And he also created these stories about Momo. Momo, we're going to find out who Momo is. She is actually a character in the stories. So maybe if you have kids or if you're interested in, I guess this would be young adult fiction, right? So people who like kind of the Hunger Games or younger kids, a little bit maybe too serious for the youngest kids, but maybe for kids, in their early teens or preteens, that kind of age, 9, 10, 11. It is a magical world, or magical worlds that Michael Ende has created. So let's get into the timeless wisdom, what we can learn, and also how we can be entertained by these wonderful stories. And we'll learn about Momo coming up right now.
First, let's take a second and listen to today's article. In the ruins of a round theater just outside an unnamed city lives a mysterious young girl named Momo. She's an orphan, always dressed in a tattered skirt and coat, unable to read or count, and unaware of her precise age. Despite her modest circumstances, she possesses an extraordinary gift that deeply impacts those around her, the ability to listen intently. By simply being present and listening, she enables people to find solutions to their issues. Her full attention and genuine empathy make her beloved among everyone she meets. This rare gift brings peace and joy to her neighborhood, creating a harmonious atmosphere within her small community. One day, the peace of Momo's life is disrupted by the appearance of the men in gray. Dressed in gray suits and with gray skin, these odd individuals introduce themselves as emissaries from the time-saving bank. They persuade everyone to save time by eliminating all unnecessary activities. They also promise that this time will be stored and later returned to them with added interest. After the departure of the men in gray, the people forget them, but remain determined to conserve as much time as possible for the future. Gradually, this goal consumes the townspeople. They avoid anything that's perceived as a waste of time, including social interactions and leisure activities. Although the men in gray also approach Momo, she is unmoved by their offer. However, she is worried about the deteriorating state of her community. While looking for solutions, Momo stumbles upon an unusual turtle named Cassiopeia. With Cassiopeia's guidance, Momo ventures into the Nowhere House, a domain governing time. So in day one, we're setting a scene as we start out the first paragraph here. We get a sense of what's going on in a part of the story. In the ruins of a round theater just outside an unnamed city lives a mysterious young girl named Momo. So in the ruins, in the destroyed remains of a round theater, it's no longer a functioning theater. It's now been destroyed, or it's gotten old and has just kind of fallen apart. We are there, and we are standing in this round theater. So it's not an oval theater. It's quite round, which is a little bit unique. I think a lot of theaters in my mind are more in the oval shape, although I guess some of the bigger ones in the old days in Greek and Roman theaters would be quite round. And we're in the middle of nowhere. Where is our nowhere? We're just outside an unnamed city. We're not in a specific place. We don't have a specific theater name. It's just a mystery for all of this. And it's even more mysterious because we have this young girl named Momo, and she's an orphan, which means that she no longer has her mother and father. She's in this situation maybe living on her own on the streets. A lot of times if you're an orphan, you will live in an orphanage, which is a place for orphans to stay until they reach a certain age. And she's always dressed in a tattered skirt and coat, unable to read or count, and unaware of her precise age. So she's wearing these tattered clothes. Tattered, if you think about it, it's almost like they're falling off your body in ribbons because they're so torn up and just gradually just turning into dust instead of clothes. So she's got her tattered skirt, and she's not really been taught a whole lot, so she can't read, she can't count, and she's unaware of her precise or exact age. A lot of times when you think of the word precise, you might think of getting on Google Maps and looking for a precise location, an exact location, or someone might ask you, what are you precisely talking about? And then you're supposed to give a lot of specific facts or details to explain very clearly what you're trying to say. So very clearly, we have young Momo here in her tattered skirt and coat.
Very interesting, kind of mysterious character here. This young girl living out there all by herself. Despite her modest circumstances, she possesses an extraordinary gift that deeply impacts those around her. Her ability to listen intently.
Always a good thing.
Very interesting. So she's not shooting laser beams out of her eyes. She's not some kind of magic child who, uses magic and spells like a certain Harry Potter.
Oh.
But she does have the ability to listen intently. We'll get to that in a second. And she also very clearly lives in certainly modest circumstances. When we use the word modest, generally we might mean not proud. Oh, right. You just won a gold medal. That's amazing. You're so talented. And then the athlete says, oh, no, it wasn't me. It's my coaches and my family and all the people around me. You're being very modest. You're not saying, oh, yes, I'm wonderful. I deserve the gold medal. I'm much better than everyone else. That's being proud. Being modest is the opposite, sort of downplaying your success or your talents or something like that. But we can also use it to mean not fancy, basic, in other words. So, if you talk about a modest hotel room, it's not in the 5-star hotel. It might be in a simple 2- or 3-star hotel, kind of a budget situation. If you're trying to buy an apartment, even with a lot of money, you could only buy a modest apartment in Japan. Not a big fancy large apartment, very, very small. It might still cost you a lot of money, but it's pretty simple, pretty basic, not fancy at all. So she has very, a not very wealthy situation or circumstances that she lives in. A circumstance, when we talk about it here, is, kind of like a situation, how things are for you, what's going on for you. These are very strange circumstances, a very strange situation, a very, frightening. If you find yourself in a frightening circumstances, that means, a bad situation. You're in a foreign country, you've hurt yourself, you run out of money, you don't know anyone. These are very frightening circumstances or stressful circumstances. So with her, she's living on her own in this abandoned theater. She doesn't have a lot to eat, not a lot of clothes to wear. Her whole situation is very poor, very modest. And also, she doesn't have a lot of luxury around her, but she has, when you possess something you have as your own, it could be your own property or your own talents or skills or something that you've been sort of born with or given. She has an extraordinary gift, an amazing, incredible. Extraordinary can also mean wonderful, fantastic, something well beyond normal, well beyond what we naturally see most of the time. So this extraordinary, amazing gift that deeply affects those or impacts those around her. What is it? The ability to listen intently. She can listen, but not just listen. She can listen intently or carefully. She really listens. She is the best listener in the world. Not only, I don't think they really mean here like she can hear a bird burping in a tree, 500 meters away. She can hear the flutter of a butterfly's eyelashes or something like that. No, she listens carefully, in other words. She really gets to what people want by listening to what they're saying. She hears things beyond their words. She can hear into their souls.
And by simply being present and listening, she enables people to find solutions to their issues. So being present just means being in the place, being there, and listening to people. She enables people, she helps people or lets people or makes it possible for people to find solutions to their issues. So if they have a problem and they're trying to work it through and she's there and listening, somehow they magically are able to figure out, a solution, a way to fix their problem. And her full attention and genuine empathy make her beloved among everyone she meets. Her genuine empathy here means her sensitivity to other people's feelings. That sensitivity and her attention that she gives to people make her loved. She is beloved. You can also say beloved. This is one of these words where if you get into the literary reading, a lot of time they'll say beloved. But today most people will say beloved among everyone she meets. And this rare, very, very special gift, her ability to listen, brings peace and joy to her neighborhood. So we're getting a real sense that this girl has got something special. And this peace and joy she brings to her neighborhood creates a harmonious atmosphere within her small community. So because of this one girl and her ability to listen and an ability to help people fix their problems, she creates harmony, a harmonious atmosphere. A space where everything is kind of working together and going, and balancing very well together in her small community. Let's take a break for a minute and listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，又到了我们说故事时间了。我们今明2天要带大家看 Momo 的故事哦。不是啦，不是那个 Momo 台啦，这个 Momo 默默。好，这个中文小说翻成默默。真的不是要带大家去看什么20几台这默默是德国人写的故事哦，而且我觉得其实饶富深意蛮好的，虽然它是那种青少年文学是 fantasy， 可我觉得大人才值得一看呢，所以也可以推荐给自己的父母亲。好，不管怎么样，我们今明2天先看一下这故事到底在讲什么。当我们说故事的时候一定要注意什么东西呢？5个 W 跟1个 H 嘛，然后我们故事会有这个 conflict， 这个是所谓的 conflict， 会有一个冲突，这个冲突就是主角他面对什么样的困难。所以通常我们在说故事的时候就会讲到什么时间什么地点呢，有一个人怎么样，像在这里的第一段也是，第一段的第一句就告诉我们，在一个无名城市之外有一个圆形的废墟的这个剧场废墟当中住着一个叫做默默的神秘少女，在这里就出现了 where 什么地方，还有主角的 who 就出来。可是这一句话呢是个特殊句型哦，不晓得你有没有发现，因为句子怎么可能一开始没有主词，怎么可能一开始就是在这个地方，其实它是地方副词放句首的倒装，你有没有发现这句话因为有点长哦，动词其实真的只有一个字，就是在句子几乎中间的地方 lives 居住，谁居住就是后面的主词啦， lives 后面的 a mysterious young girl named Momo 其实是真正的主词。那为什么我们会需要出现到倒装呢？通常是因为我们要强调那个地方，所以让读者一开始就看到那个地方，在这个圆形剧场的一个废墟的，而且在一个不知道是什么城市的这个地方居住的这个少女，所以有一点强调地方的意味。好，那这个 Momo 呢，她就是个孤儿嘛，基本上呢就是孤儿，就是没人照顾啦，所以她总是穿着一些破旧的裙子啊外套，而且她不识字，然后她的数学也不好，也搞不清楚自己到底几岁了。 虽然他生活条件十分简朴，但是他有一个能够深深影响着周遭人的非凡天赋哦，他有专心倾听的能力。这个 what 就出现了，在故事当中的这个关键能力非常重要。好，我们看一下第一段的第3句。这个第3句就是我们刚刚讲的，他有这个非凡的天赋。可是在这句话当中呢，因为有一个限定用法的关系子句，我们要把它找出来。先行词是句子中间部分的 an extraordinary gift， 一个非凡的礼物，不是礼物哦，老天爷给你的礼物就是你的天赋，所以在这里的 gift 是天赋。什么天赋呢？从 that 到冒号前面我们可以左右括号。限定用法，这个限定用法的意思就是说，我们要用一个中文的形容词放在先行词 an extraordinary gift 这边，所以中文翻译会由限定用法这个关系子句先翻，有一个可以深深影响周遭人的这个天赋，有没有？我们会把限定用法关系子句中文形容词会先翻，然后才会出现那个先行词。这能力就是什么呢？ To listen intently， 能专注的倾听。那除了这个能专注倾听之外啊，下面这句话在第4句特别有提到，他只有很专注的在场的专心的聆听，就能够让诉说者找到解决问题的方法。其实好像通常是这样，只要有人倾听我们说的话，或者是同理我们的感受，其实自然而然我们也会知道有什么样的方法。所以这是很重要的事情，这个画得很重要。而且他这样子全心全意的这种关注啊，跟真诚的这种同理心，就让他遇见他的人都非常非常喜欢他。同样在这个第一段第5句的地方，我们注意一个关键字，这个关键字叫做 empathy。empathy 翻成中文叫做同理心，也就是你能够知道对方的感受，这个叫做同理心。这同理心后面 make her beloved 是 make 加上受词，再加上一个补语，有没有？形容词形容这个 her， 使得她被大家喜爱哦，是这个 make 加上受词加一个形容词补语的这种用法。所以这种天赋就替他的整个社区啊，居住的人啊，就大家就觉得很开心，和平欢乐。所以在他居住的这个社区里面呢，就有和谐的气氛。
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Okay, we are back. So let's find out how things go for Momo. I get the feeling that something will happen in her world that will change things dramatically. Oh, I was right. One day, the peace of Momo's life is disrupted by the appearance of the men in gray. Very interesting. I don't like the sound of these guys. But this is something that happens, her life is simple, but, satisfying, right? She doesn't have a lot. She lives in pretty modest circumstances, but she is surrounded by people she feels love and empathy with and for. But one day, it says, the peace of her life is disrupted. So everything sort of calm and relaxed and peaceful and normal in her life is suddenly thrown up into the air. What happens? The men in gray appear. Who are the men in gray? No, they're not the cousins of the men in black from the Will Smith movie. They are dressed in gray suits with gray skin. Oh my gosh, they need to get out to the...
They're disturbing.
They need to get more sun. These odd individuals introduce themselves as emissaries from the time-saving bank. I'm getting a bad guy feeling off these guys. But anyways, they have gray suits, gray skin, so that's why the men in gray seems to be a pretty good name for them.
Right.
And they're described as odd or strange, mysterious, maybe even a little scary. And they introduce themselves, hi, we're the men in gray. We are emissaries from the time-saving bank. We're going to find out more about the time-saving bank in a second. These guys are basically sent as agents, sent to do the work of the time-saving bank. If you're, a salesperson, you could describe yourself as an emissary from your company. So you go around, you visit other companies, meet people in other businesses, and you do business for the company that you represent. We can also think about government emissaries. If the president of Taiwan needs to have a very important discussion with the president of, let's say, the prime minister of, let's say, Japan. Maybe the president of Taiwan can't actually go to Japan because, he's busy. He's got too many things to do. So he would send an emissary, basically a trusted individual who speaks or does the business of another group or another person or another organization, like an agent. It's that kind of thing. So these emissaries from the time-saving bank, they are there. What are they there for? It says they persuade everyone to save time by eliminating all unnecessary activities. Oh gosh, they sound like efficiency experts sent into your company. Yeah, you should eliminate all unnecessary activities to save time. So no more talking, no more having fun, no more coffee breaks, no more standing around chatting with your coworkers. It's work, 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 or stop working and go home or something like that. It sounds like these guys are the fun police.
Right. And so you can't do any of these unnecessary activities. But if you don't do these unnecessary activities, it's okay because you're going to save all this time.
Life's boring then.
Yeah, but the gray guys say it's okay. The gray guys say it'll all work out.
They're gray.
They are. They also promise that this time that you save will be stored and later returned to them with added interest.
Oh.
So like a bank, you put in your money, you put in, say, $100, and if the interest is 1%, over the course of a year, you'll get one more dollar, right? So you'll get $101 by the end of the year. You'll get some money back. That is your interest, your added interest. And here, what we're talking about is the time that all these people are saving. They're going to get that time back later, in kind of this amorphous later. We don't know when this later is. And it'll have even more time added on. It'll be great. It'll all be perfect. After the departure of the men in gray, the people forget them. So it's like they were there, they planted this idea of saving time, and then they disappeared. And kind of like the men in black in the movie with Will Smith, that one, they kind of use that, oh, hey, stare into this light, and they get rid of their memory. Well, the memory is now gone, but the idea that they planted to save time is still there. So after their departure, after they leave, the people forget them but remain determined to conserve as much time as possible for the future. So they are telling themselves, absolutely, we are motivated to conserve, to save as much time as possible for the future. Gradually, this goal consumes the town people. So over time, this idea that was planted in their head, this goal, consumes them. It doesn't mean that it eats them, but it's almost like it eats them. It eats up their soul. It eats up their focus. It eats up their energy by the fact that they feel like all they can do is focus on saving time. So it consumes who they would be. It consumes their time. It just takes up everything that they would otherwise have time to dedicate to, amusements or an afternoon nap or whatever. They avoid anything that's perceived as a waste of time, including social interactions and leisure activities. So slowly, these folks are just not really doing anything but kind of being very efficient robots.
Oh, that sounds absolutely boring.
And terrifying.
It also sounds terrifying, too. It says, although the men in gray also approach Momo, she is unmoved by their offer. So she doesn't fall for their sales pitch.
But she listens so well.
She listens very well, and she hears a stinky fish. I'm not sure you can hear a stinky fish, but she hears something that makes her unsettled and not quite ready to trust these guys in gray. What's this all about? If you're unmoved by something, it just means emotionally it doesn't really affect you. It doesn't really touch you. It doesn't really make you go, oh, or anything like that. If you're unmoved by the person's offer or by their words, it means they don't affect you emotionally. Maybe also you don't really believe them, that kind of thing. You have some suspicions and you're a little bit of hesitancy. However, she is worried about the deteriorating state of her community. So she's not going to follow the men in gray, but she sees the effect that's having on the community, on the people around her. It's causing a deterioration. So to deteriorate is to basically just get worse. Okay? If you don't take care of your bicycle or your car or your house, it will deteriorate over time.
Fall apart and crumble.
Leave that bike out in the rain, it will start to rust. Don't take your car to be serviced, the engine will start to be a problem. And if you don't take care of your house, pretty soon you'll have leaky windows or a leaky roof or broken machines around you. So to deteriorate is to get worse, generally over time, and often by neglect, by ignoring something. While looking for solutions, Momo stumbles upon an unusual turtle named Cassiopeia, or Cassiopeia, as some people would pronounce it. So this is an interesting sort of turn in our plot. She's looking for answers and solutions.
It's a turtle.
Way to solve the problem of everyone giving their time to the gray men. The community's getting worse. Things are getting more boring. Everyone seems kind of depressed all the time. So Momo's trying to fix this. She's trying to look for solutions. But she sort of accidentally she stumbles upon an unusual turtle. To stumble is kind of like to trip. You might stumble on something if you're walking around your house at night and you knock your leg into a chair and you kind of almost fall but don't. You take a few, goofy steps, awkward steps, but you catch yourself. But we also use it in a non-physical, real-world sense of just you sort of accidentally discovering something. So as you walk around your neighborhood, down a street you don't normally travel along, you might, hey, look, there's a new restaurant here. When did that open? So you kind of stumble upon it. You accidentally encounter a restaurant or maybe a turtle named Cassiopeia.
And Cassiopeia is actually the name of a constellation with 5 stars. It kind of looks like an extended W if you see it up in the sky. But here it's a turtle. Cassiopeia's guidance gives Momo the ability to venture into the nowhere house, a domain governing time. It sounds very interesting and very mysterious. So the turtle tells her, hey, you might want to go into this building. And she dares to do it. She ventures into it. A lot of times when we think about venturing into a space, you're going into somewhere where you're scared or nervous about what you're about to face. It's also part of the word adventure. So you have an adventure when you go on and when you venture into these new worlds that you go into. Here we're venturing into nowhere house. And this is a domain governing time. A domain could be, if you're thinking of the internet, it might be .com, .ca, .edu. It's a subset of internet areas where they're all kind of in the same group. So .gov. But here a domain means a place. And this place is where time is governed. Let's take a minute now and listen to our Chinese teacher one more time.
接着来到第2段啦，就出现故事的 conflict 这个冲突。这个冲突就是主角的困难。到底发生什么事？有一天默默生活当中的平静就因为灰衣人的出现而打破。灰衣人是怎么样的情况呢？原来这些灰衣人除了穿灰色西装有灰色暗色的肤色之外，他们说自己是时间储蓄银行的使者。重点是第3句，灰衣人希望大家能够消除不必要的活动，这样大家就可以节省时间，然后存在我们储蓄银行，然后呢我们还会把利息还给大家。也就是说呢，只要是浪费时间的事情大家都不要做。这第3段，这个第2段就妙了。什么叫做浪费时间的事情呢？定义出现在最后面这一句，也就是第7句的地方。所谓的浪费时间的事情，就是最后面 social interactions 社交互动leisure activities 一些休闲活动这些都是浪费时间。哎呀天哪，如果不跟别人有互动聊聊，然后呢也不能从事休闲活动，看电影啦，这个看电视啦，或者是去运动，这样人会生病的耶。我们现在的这个观念都是这样，对不对？那么这个故事呢就妙在这个灰衣人就阻止大家做这运动这些事情，然后呢节省时间，存在这个银行，还有利息给你。但是我们讲的这些东西还是要回过头来看一下这段有没有什么特殊的句型。有，在第2句的地方，首先看第2句这个 dressed in 又是分词构句了，它是一个过去分词，对不对？ be dressed in 身穿什么什么衣服，谁身穿衣服它又是分词构句。主词出现在逗点之后的 these odd individuals， 这些奇怪的一个的人，也就是灰衣人。好，接下来请看一下 第二段第5句的地方。第5句我们不是说会议人要大家节省时间吗？这个节省时间当然你可以用 save time， 但是我们在这边看到接近比较中后方有一个 conserve 也是节省保留起来的意思，本来应该直接加受词 conserve time， 文意要描述的是尽可能的节省时间，所以那个 as 要把 time 放进去，所以你不能说 conserve time as much as possible， no， 你要说 conserve as much time as possible， 因为这里我们比较常用错，所以可以把它划线起来。最后面的第7句我们刚刚说浪费时间的定义，对不对？浪费时间的事情到底是哪一些？这里有一个限定用法的关系子句哦，先行词是 anything， 第7句的地方我们把它画起来，那 that 一直到逗点这边左右括号，特别把 that 圈起来，因为冠带在这里只能用 that 的原因是因为它的先行词是不特定的事情叫做 anything， 所以只能用 that。 那我们讲说不管是社交啦或休闲活动啊，就浪费时间的事情，结果呢蛮多大人都开始这样子做了，因为大家觉得说时间省起来还有利息，好像蛮好的。但是来到第3段，但是呢会议人游说某某却对他们的提议不为所动哦。可是他会发现整个社区好像蛮多人开始就避免社交活动，然后也没有休闲活动，他就觉得这个情况感到的蛮担忧的。后来他就想到底要怎么样来解决这个方法呢？突然他遇到了一只很不寻常的乌龟，在最后这一段第3句的地方。第3句要特别看哦，除了出现一只叫做卡西奥比亚，这个还是讲英文 Cassiopeia 的这只乌龟之外这个第3句有个特殊句型，它是分词构句，但是是连接词保留的分词构句。这个连接词就是第3句的第1个字叫做 while， 就是 when 表示时间的意思。本来应该是 while she is looking for solutions， 当某某正在寻找解决方法的时候，逗点之后也就是某某嘛，所以直接把某某省略， be 动词省略，但是连接词保留的原因是因为希望大家能了解在这句话当中强调的是一个时间，所以就在这个时候，那某某就遇见了 Cassiopeia。 那这个乌龟告诉他什么呢？他引导他进入了一个地方，就是 the nowhere house， 无处之家。无处之家是什么地方呢？它是一个主宰时间的地方。这是我们今天的故事，但是明天会带大家看完这个故事还有结局，所以明天要准时收听哦。我是安娜，我们明天见。
So we are starting on our path to learn about our protagonist, Momo, our big hero of the story here. And I feel like we're just getting on our way. Luckily, we have more days ahead of us where we can take a step further into Momo's world and find out how she's going to deal with these gray men. For English Digest, I'm Leah.
And I'm Mike.
Bye.